Let's talk about something that happens to almost every small business owner at some point. You put in the work, you post your content, you run the ad, you do all the things that you think you're supposed to do, and nothing happens. The phone doesn't ring, the DMs don't come, the membership doesn't grow. And you sit there wondering, does marketing even work? Or is it just something that agencies sell you so they can take your money? Marketing works. I promise you it works. But most people are doing it wrong. Not because they're lazy, it's just because no one had someone to tell them. No one taught them the right way. And it's the absence of a system in those situations. People improvise. And improvised marketing is expensive. Today, we're going to hop through every major, or at least a few major marketing mistakes that I've seen small business owners make. And we're going to do it with I'm just going to introduce a character. He's my imaginary friend, if you will, Poor Post Pete. And before we get into that, Poor Post Pete, he's you. He's me. He's all of us. And sometimes you'll know when you're Poor Post Pete. My name is Colin Charles in real life, and this is Enoch Marketing. So let's get into it. So, here are 8 common mistakes that small business owners make. We're going to go through them, and I want to recommend that you all recognize when this is you or someone in your organization, or just someone you know. Mistake number 1, the boost button. A post gets some organic traction. Good for you. It feels like momentum. So the instinct is for you to hit the little blue button and you throw $50 at it and watch the likes roll in. Except the likes come from people in cities that you don't serve and demographics that you don't target and the accounts that will never walk through your door. It looks like marketing, but it's not marketing. It's paid vanity. Logically, it'd be like more likes equals more members, right? No. Mistake 2, posting on vibes. This is when you put out 3 posts in January, then it's radio silence in February because life got busy, then it's a motivational quote in March, and it's back to silence in April. There's no strategy. There's no cadence. There's no through line. The audience that was building, and there was one, quietly moved on. The algorithm deprioritized the account, and a potential member who found the page in February saw nothing but tumbleweeds in March, and they assumed that the gym either was closed or wasn't serious. The thought process being, I post when I have something to say. That doesn't work either. Mistake 3, cold conversation campaigns. This is me. I am Pete. Pete decides to run real ads. He skips the warm-up stack that we went over in episode 3, which we covered in detail. Don't skip it. Don't skip it. Go back and watch it if you've missed it. And he goes straight to a conversion campaign. The audience is cold. They've never heard of Pete. They've never seen his content. And Pete asks them to sign up for a membership on the very first interaction. That is like the bar marriage proposal all over again, where you walked in, you met a person, you made eye contact, and you were like, hey, marry me, and it doesn't work. Pete paid for strangers to meet him and then immediately asked them to commit. And the logic of that being, I paid for the ad, so it should convert. Mistake number 4, copying the competition. So Pete, he sees a competitor running a certain kind of ad, and it looks like it might be working. So Pete copies it. Same format, same offer, same energy, different logo, and he does not know why the competitor is running that ad. He does know that if he is actually performing, that it's performing for the other people, but he doesn't know that if his competitor's audience is anything in common with his. He just saw something and grabbed it. And that still makes sense, right? Because the logic is if it works for them, it'll work for me. And then mistake 5, Vanity metrics. Again, I am Pete, and Pete is me. Pete has 10,000 Instagram followers. Good for you, Pete. You're beating most of us. And he mentions this number frequently. He doesn't mention the fact that his posts average 47 likes, maybe. He doesn't mention that his last 3 reels got 300 views combined. And he definitely doesn't mention that his membership has been flat for 8 months. The followers look great, but the business tells a different story. The logic being that if you have followers, you have credibility, which is not true. Mistake 6. There's no call to action. I'm going to emphasize this one. This is Pete. Pete is probably you. I'm just going to keep it a stack. This is a big one. This is where Pete creates content, and it's good content most of the time. Member transformations, community videos, workout highlights. The caption ends with a fire emoji and nothing else. There's no ask. There's no link. There's no next step. The content lands and it feels like something. And then people scroll right past it. Because Pete gave them nowhere to go. This is not a content problem. The content was good. This is a strategy problem. Pete moved people emotionally and left them standing in the middle of the room with nowhere to sit. Now, not to be confused, this is great if you're doing an awareness campaign. But if you're trying to make conversions, you're trying to garner commitment, know where to put these ads. So, the logic behind that is good content sells itself. And if good work sold itself, then no one would ever need advertising now, would they? Make marketing as a cost. Mistake 7. This is where business slows down. Pete's looking at its expenses and he starts cutting. And marketing is the first line item to go. He doesn't realize that cutting marketing when the business is slow is like turning off your headlights because you're low on gas. You just made the problem harder to navigate. Marketing is not a reward for when the business is good. It's the engine that keeps business good. And the logic there is, if I can't afford to market right now, then I'm just not going to market. Yeah, that's pulling the gas out of your tank. Mistake number 8, the fire extinguisher. Pete does not market when things are going well. And why would he? If things are going well and the membership drops, Pete panics, then he throws money at ads, hoping for an immediate fix. Marketing doesn't work like that. You cannot build on an audience in a crisis. You build on the audience before the crisis so it's already there when you need it, which is why we're doing this now. Pete has been using marketing as a fire extinguisher when he should have been using it as a smoke detector. Pete, be a thermostat, not a thermometer. That is the equivalent of don't wait till you're thirsty to build your well. The logic behind it is I will market when I need members. 8 mistakes. 8 versions of the same root problem. No strategy. Kotler put this plainly. Marketing fails not because of a lack of creativity or budget. It fails because of a lack of strategy. Strategy means knowing who you're talking to and what you want them to do. And at what sequence of interaction gets them from a stranger to a member. Without that, you have no content. You don't have hope. Because hope, as we'd say in the military, hope is not a COA, but in civilian speak, hope is not a strategy. Kotler writes, marketing is not the art of finding clever ways to dispose of what you make. It is the art of creating genuine customer value. Strategy is what separates marketing from noise. And Brian Sharp, marketing scientist for the University of South Australia, one of the most data-driven researchers in his field, adds another layer. Consistency. Not cleverness, not budget. It's consistency. He writes, the most important thing a brand can do is be mentally available. To be thought of in the buying situation. Consistency and reach matter more than cleverness. Pete is occasionally clever and consistently absent. That combination does not build a brand. It And if it does, it's a forgettable brand. So, this is Colin's thoughts. This is where I get to be selfish. You got to meet poor Post Pete. And this is why we all know him so well. So, let me properly introduce you to him. He is you. He is me. We are Pete. Pete's not a bad person. I want to be very clear about that. Pete works hard. Pete cares about his gym. Pete genuinely wants his members to succeed and his business to grow. Pete is doing the best he can with the information he has. And that is exactly the problem. Pete has been running his gym for 3 years. He's built something real. The community is good, the coaching is solid, the members who stick around love the place, but Pete's membership has been plateauing for the last 18 months and he can't figure out why. So Pete does what most people do. He looks at what he's doing and does more of it. He posts a little more, he boosts a post here and there, he tries a new ad format that he saw in a Facebook group or from a gym owner, and he starts following his competitor's account and copies the style of the content so that he can do whatever's doing well for them. But nothing changes. Because Pete is not doing more of the right thing. He's doing more of the wrong thing, con gusto. Now, here's where I need to be honest with you. Because I've been Pete. And specifically 3, as we've talked about before with the cold conversion campaign. We talked about it in episode 3. If you want to go back and check my records of how I messed up, I ran traffic ads for a campaign to a cold audience. And I got 20,000 clicks and no conversions. That was $2,000. And I thought I was doing marketing. I was doing really expensive introductions with no follow through. And I met 20,000 strangers and was immediately asked them to hire me. Could you imagine going to a bar and talking to 2 people and walking up to them and saying, "Hey, I just met you. Do you want to get married?" You would get thrown out of the bar. But I did the same thing with my marketing, and it was genuinely confused that it didn't work out. As the youth say, I was holding some Pete energy. And I had it. Most of the people who are getting into marketing have that same Pete energy at some point. Because the mistakes are not obvious when you are inside them. They only become obvious in hindsight. Or when someone breaks them down for you episode by episode. But that's what we're doing now. Pete is going to show up in this series from here forward. From the rest of this series, we're really getting into the nuances of what is actually happening tangibly in marketing. Pete makes a mistake that corresponds to whatever we are talking about during that episode. And by watching Pete make it, you're understanding why he fails, and you can skip the expensive part of the education. Pete, me, paid the tuition, you get the lesson. Sound like a deal? Cool. So let's get into why you should care. There are 3 reoccurring mistakes that are made. And we're going to get right into them. So let's bring it into your gym of all the mistakes I've seen. And there are more than just the 8. But of those 8, we most see 1, posting on vibes and doing cold conversion campaigns and doing no call to action. And those will sink you, right? So let's start with posting on vibes. Most CrossFit gym Instagram accounts look like a personal diary with some gym filler in it. They post when something happens, they go dark when life gets busy, they come back when there's a PR to share. And here's why that matters. Byron Sharp's research showed that mental availability, being consistently presented in the mind of potential customers, is one of the strongest predictors of growth. When your community is finally ready to join a gym, your name needs to come to mind. It's like the same way you would think of electric cars and then immediately think of a company. Or Band-Aids, or tissues, or vacuums, or whatever. When someone in your community is finally ready to join the gym, you need to come to mind immediately. And it needs to come to mind without having to do a Google search of where's the nearest gym. Pete, poor post Pete, posts when he feels like it. And when that potential member is ready, Pete's not already in the room. Somebody else has already done the marketing and they're showing up in Pete's place. Consistency beats cleverness every time. A mediocre post every week beats a brilliant post once a month. Cold conversation campaigns. Guilty. Guilty. I've owned that. This is me being honest with you. We've covered this in full back in episode 3, but Pete didn't watch these episodes either, so he doesn't know what's happening. Running a conversion or lead generation campaign to a cold audience. People who have never seen your content, never heard your name, never had an interaction with your brand, those people don't want to work with you. They don't. They didn't want to work with me. They're not going to want to work with anybody because they don't know you. You don't have the emotional tie that gets people from, no, I don't know this person, to yes, I want to work with them. The awareness ladder exists for a reason. People move through these stages before they commit. They're unaware, they're problem aware, they're solution aware, and then they're product aware, but then they're most aware. And that's where you need to be. You're in the room. And a conversion campaign speaks to someone at stage 5. Pete is running at stage 1. The clicks come, and they will come. No matter what, you can throw out an ad, you're going to get some clicks. Primarily because people are curious. But curiosity and commitment are two very different things. And Pete mistakes one for another, and that bites him in the tail every time. You have to warm the audience up. Then ask for the commitment. That's the only way that the sequence works. Now, playing into that, we're going to go to no call for action. So you have to have a call for action in your stuff. Otherwise, it's not really an ad. It's just a journal. Cool. We saw you hit a PR clean. I love that for you. If you like it, I love it. But here's the mistake. You think you're doing the right thing. You're posting, you're making good content sometimes. Member stories, community videos, the type of content that actually moves people emotionally. That's great. And then it ends up a caption with a fire emoji. There's nothing there. There's no ask, no link, no direction, no next step. But here's the devastating part. The content worked. And someone scrolled past and they saw it and they felt something. System 1 fired and they were interested. And then Pete gave them nowhere to go. So they kept scrolling. And by the time they looked up from their phone, they had forgotten which gym that was. Every piece of content that you make without a call to action is a conversion that never happened. You paid in time and effort, oftentimes in money, to move someone emotionally, and then you left them standing in the middle of the room with nowhere to sit. That call to action does not have to be aggressive. The one that you need, it doesn't have to be aggressive. It doesn't have to be salesy. It can be simple, like, hey, link in bio if you want to know more. Drop a comment if this sounds like you. DM us and we'll tell you what your first class looks like. One sentence. One direction. That's all it takes to turn a feeling into the next step. If Pete does not do this, Pete thinks all good content sells itself. And so Pete keeps creating content that moves people and then watching them walk out of the door without asking for the name. Don't be Pete. So, with all that being said, last caveat with that, you can use things without call to action only in phase 1 of the ladder. I threw up a 2. This is Lord Farquaad. Phase 1 of the ladder. There are 8 mistakes that we went over today, 1 root cause, and that's no strategy. Kotler said it, a strategy is what separates marketing from noise. Sharp re-emphasizes saying consistency and reach matter more than cleverness. And poor post Pete, demonstrates both of those truths every single day without meaning to. Pete is going to be with us for the rest of this series and the rest of our lives. I'm not going to say that. Every episode, he is in is going to show up to emphasize the point that corresponds to whatever we're talking about. Watch out for Pete. Learn from Pete. Don't be. Pete can be fixed, and that's good news. Every single mistake that is on this list is completely correctable. None of that requires a big budget. None of it requires a marketing degree. None of it requires the intention or consistency. It's just pay attention. Be consistent. And understand how these systems work, which is exactly what this series is building on. In this next episode, we're going to get into trust and social proof, and why people buy from people they trust, and how you build that trust systematically, and what Pete does instead. So if you like this content, you found value, subscribe, share this with someone who needs it, drop Pete's name in the comments just for fun. I want to know if you recognize him. You can find us at enochmarketing.com, hit us up on Instagram, and book a call with us if you're ready to stop being a Pete and start doing marketing correctly. I'm Colin Charles, this is Enoch Marketing, and we'll talk to you soon.